Hello and welcome to Enjoy Discovering Wines tasting for English Wine Week 2021. We're delighted to be doing this tasting for you where we have 5 beautiful still wines from England. England's brilliant at producing outstanding sparkling wines and still wines as well, but we want you to taste along with us. So hopefully you've bought the little pack of the 5 samples of wine. Not to worry if not, you can you can always purchase these wines or do it again, because this video will be on YouTube for as long as you desire. So my name is Erica. My company is Enjoy Discovering Wine. We're a very small company that runs wine training courses for those that work in the trade, the sommeliers, wine buyers, those that want to maybe travel, so people that are just interested in wine and they want to travel around and visit vineyards and have a little bit more knowledge. The qualification courses are called the Wine and Spirit Education Trust, and they run from a 1-day level 1 course up to nearly 2 years of wine training. So we have 3 classes at the moment running for people doing the WSET Wine and Spirit Education Trust Diploma in wines and studying a lot of information. So this isn't going to be a diploma or a degree in wine. That's certainly not what you're here for. This is a little a small peek into the world of how we like Enjoy Discovering Wine to have fun with wine, but for everybody just to pick up a few tips along the way. And even if you've done WSET courses already, hopefully you're just enjoying the opportunity here to taste some wines from 5 different English counties. So we wanted to do 5 counties and 5 grapes. So that's what we have here. So I'm going to take you through each of these wines. You would have received a sample of each. So what I'd ask you to do, and hopefully you've got 5 glasses so we can go back and forwards and backwards and forwards, is to pour about this much wine. How much is that much? It's easier to just show you here that we've got about 1/3 of the wine left in the bottle there, so we can come back to it and refreshing out. Hopefully they're not too cold. If you just take them straight out of the fridge, they're around about 5 degrees. We should be drinking these more like 9, 10, 11 degrees centigrade. So maybe, you discovered or will discover wines that you enjoy more, because if you've been taking them straight out of the fridge, possibly you're over chilling them and killing those lovely flavours. Okay, so warm them up, try them a little bit warmer. Also, I've got a selection of English food here, so I've been exploring. We've got some tomatoes, dried tomatoes, different cheeses, got some mushroom pate, some asparagus, some applewood and some vegan applewoods, and some spicy nibbly crisps, and also a little bit of Somerset crab. Why are we doing all this? Because it makes a huge difference. To me, what we have with English wines is acidity. Lovely, refreshing acidity. So the bit that makes your mouth water, okay, the bit that makes you wake up and think, wow, what's that? What's refreshing my palate? But for some people that may be too much, so I'm going to show you through food and wine pairing. And you may have seen these little food and wine pairing cards if you've met us at Wine Festival Winchester or elsewhere. Very, very basic principles behind food and wine pairing, and the number one is it's your personal preference. So nobody can tell you, especially an educator, that you will like this wine with this food, because if you don't like that food, you don't like that wine, it's not going to work. But anyway, let's show you how that works. So why high acidity? And we'll taste soon, don't worry. Why high acidity? Because England is a cool climate. Okay, so when our grapes are ripening, we end up with less sugar than we may in other warmer areas, and we hold on to that very, very high acidity. So giving lovely, refreshing wines works beautifully for growing grapes for sparkling wine, but this is about the still wines to demonstrate to you how great they are too. So, maritime climate, what does this mean? This means that we get a longer growing season. So even though we might not have as much warmth to get our grapes as ripe as somewhere like Spain or South Africa or Chile, we can certainly have the time in the season to get them a little bit higher than we maybe would somewhere where we've got a more inland area and the growing season's a bit shorter. Also, we're at 49.9 degrees north of the equator latitude, and that means in the summer months, as we're finding out now, our sunlight hours in the summertime are lovely and long. And we need that sunlight. That's all about photosynthesis, and that's all about the grapes ripening and the skins ripening and building up all those chemical compounds in the skins to make sure we get some flavours. So what we're going to do, because I don't want to talk too much until you've tasted, so I just want you to smell each of these wines. Okay, so we're starting with the rosé. And what we have here, give it a little sniff. Check it smells like wine. Yep. And this is predominantly Pinot Gris. So we have quite a lot of Pinot Gris in here, 91%. But what we have actually is some Pinot Noir. So we'll talk about that with the colour. But you're smelling this lovely sort of fresh fruit, apples type aromas, maybe a little bit of rhubarb, some peach in there. Okay. So for contrast, because it's always good to have a few wines in front of you, for contrast, go to the second wine, which is Danbury, and this grape is called Madeleine Orangevine. And what you'll find with this one here, much more fresh characteristics, so much more of that lovely floral character, some green character, some lemons, apples, things like that. Okay, don't worry if you can't smell, it happens, it will come with practice. You go to your third wine, give it a swirl, careful not to spray it over the person next to you. See that one, a bit different again. Again, a lot of that floral, maybe some of the more of the green fruit, bit of gooseberry, elderflower in there, delicious. And then compare that to the fourth wine, which is a Chardonnay, 100% Chardonnay. And what we've got here is some softer fruit, some lemon, some apple, but a little bit of stone fruit, a softer, less intense floral characteristics there. And then to Chardonnay's mate, Pinot Noir, the last wine. And we smell that red fruit in there. So some lovely, really nice strawberries, wild strawberries, cherries, a spice in there as well. We'll talk about that. So already, even if you can't identify any of those characters I've described, do not worry. What I want you to notice is they're all different. Also, if you're struggling with the aromas, a better thing to do, and we'll do this with the first wine, is to maybe trap them. Because as you swirl the wine, you're releasing those aromas. So pop your hand on top and give it a really good swirl round. Stop swirling, keep your hand on, poke your nose in, and hopefully you'll get a lot more of that lovely fresh rhubarb apple character coming through on that. Okay, so I promised you'd taste. What I want us to do, and what I suggested that you brought along, is some lemon. Okay, we are going to taste the food and we are going to see how the different food items compare, and you'll probably have other food, and that's great. But to step back from that, I want us to think about what components in food affect these wines. So as I said, they're high acid wines, and we're going to make a big difference to these wines. All of these wines are delicious to drink on their own, but they also make really good accompaniments for food because of that lovely acidity. So this is something we do at level 1, the 1-day wine course, and we have salt and lemon, a bit of cheese, some spicy crisps, some sweet things. So you really do get a chance to sort of play around with the interaction there. And at level 2 as well there, once you get to level 3, your 7-day course, you're kind of moving around the world at a faster speed. So food and wine pairing is about having a glass with your dinner later on. But certainly this, for many people that I meet along the way, absolutely blows their mind at how much we can change a wine. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to start with wine number 2, please. Yes, number 2, it doesn't have to be in this order. So we're in Hampshire, so it's my county, so up the road here near Stockbridge. We have this lovely estate here, Danbury. Now, Danbury we've known for quite a while now, and Danbury are a family owned estate, and they make sparkling, but they also make a lot of very, very high quality still wines. This one here in particular, so wine number 2, remember the white one? This one here is Madeleine Orangevine, as I said, 2019, and what they have produced here is a dry wine to be very refreshing. Okay, so What we also do when we're tasting in the WSET courses and any fun stuff we're doing actually is we make sure we really taste. So it's not kind of a just drink it down. So I want you to take a little sip of the wine and then just give it a good chew. I know it sounds ridiculous, but just give it a good chew. So if you're chewing it around, imagine having that with food. Okay, you're not going to necessarily sit there chew and chew, but this is a bit like driving a car in the beginning. You have to really think about changing gears. You have to really think about looking in the mirror, etc. And after a while, you just do that automatically. It just happens. But what I want you to notice there is this is a dry wine. There's no sugar in this wine, but you'll find your mouth is watering quite a lot. So this has got very high acidity and it makes it delicious and refreshing. What I want you to do is to show you what happens if you have acidic food or maybe fatty food with a wine with that lovely refreshing acidity. So, rather giant piece of a lemon slice I've got here. Drop a couple of drops of lemon on the back of your hand. The reason I do that is so we don't get any bitterness from the skin or the pith. And then drink the juice. So, your mouth has now got acid in it, so it's ready. It's adjusting. It's prepared. So try number 2 again. Give it a look, chew. And you'll see there, excuse me, hopefully the wine feels a bit less acidic, feels a bit softer, and maybe even the flavours come out more for you. Excuse me, too much lemon. So what we're going to do now is try this with some salt as well. So a little bit of salt on the back of the hand. What's the salt going to do to my hay fever? Squeeze the lemon on the salt. Now your mouth is full of salt and lemon. Try number 2 again. Notice what happens to that perception of acidity and notice what happens to the flavour. Does it feel softer? Does it make the wine feel still refreshing, but a little bit rounder? So the fruit comes out a bit more, some pears in there, some apples in there, some lemons in there. Lovely and refreshing. So this is Madeleine Orangevine Baum grape variety there. Put it on your tasting sheet, which is a grape variety that was created. It's a crossing, I should say, of Madeleine Royale and Serche. It's from the Loire. And what's beautiful about this grape is it's a very early ripening grape. And what we mean by that is that the flavours develop earlier than maybe some other grape varieties. Therefore, if it is a cooler climate, such as we have here, then it doesn't matter because we can still get lots of flavours. So, what else are we going to try this with? What I want you to do now is to have a little look around your food items there and find something that's got a bit more flavour and lemon and acid. For example, for me, it's some lovely English asparagus. So what I'm going to do, I haven't cooked it, it's just fresh asparagus. It reminds me of when I did my wine training course in New Zealand. And we were in a winemaking horticultural college course with the loggers as well in Gisborne. And so the other students were growing things like avocados. We could just go and pick avocados off the tree, and asparagus would just be growing everywhere. So I'd be this poor student going around picking my asparagus and my avocados, and I just love fresh asparagus. But what I'm going to do is squeeze a bit of lemon on my asparagus. So now we've got that acidity effect that will bring out the flavour in the wine, but also we're adding some more flavour to it. So, do you like asparagus? My husband has an issue with it. So what we're doing here is we're not only using the acidity to push the acid back a little bit, it's still refreshing, but actually for me, the flavour of the asparagus works lovely with that lovely citrus green fruit, fresh characteristic of the Madeleine Orangevine that Danbury have done such a great job of trapping that. And you know, this wine is this is a wine grown in Hampshire. This is a wine made very skillfully. This is a wine that's only £11, and isn't that delicious? It's Danbury Vineyards, Danbury Estate itself is actually just 7 acres, small family. There's a little team there that run it, very small team, have a lovely lunches and everything there. You can do great tours there. So near Stockbridge, look them up. And it's actually on the old paddock 19th century race course. So there we go. So this is why you have this lovely logo on the wines as well, which is on your tasting sheet. Okay, so that was just to give you an opportunity to try, and also for you to start thinking about what's happened. Did it make a difference? Maybe not. Maybe it didn't make a difference to you, but maybe the person next to you or the person across from you, it did make a difference, because we're all different. Okay, so let's go back to wine number 1 and talk about Rathfinny. Okay, so Rathfinny produces medal-winning, world-class sparkling wine. That's their mission. Set up by Sarah and Mark Driver in 2010. They bought some land. It was a working arable farm. They're over in East Sussex, on chalky soil, south-facing. A lot of it south-facing. So everything, if you learn about wine or hear about wine or visited producers, if we're in the Northern Hemisphere and it's a bit cool like we are, we want to plant their vines on south-facing slopes. Then I found them, and they're going to plant more and more. They started with 50 hectares there. So they're on the South Downs. They're growing mainly the key 3 sparkling wine grapes, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier, but they also have some Pinot Gris there. So this rosé wine, as I said before, is made from 91% Pinot Gris and 9% Pinot Noir. Okay, so Pinot Gris is related to Pinot Noir. Pinot was sort of at the top of a massive family tree. There's lots of relations there that you know. Grapes you know, and maybe grapes you're not so familiar with. Okay, so a fresh fruity rosé. Their notes, I love the way they've described their wine there. They've described it as having bally slipper pink colour. So just have a look at that wine. Beautiful delicate colour. So if you like that sort of more delicate, lighter Provence style. Okay, but on that Pinot Gris gives you that really lovely, can you smell that apple? Some peaches there. Really, really lovely, fresh nose, not too overpowering, just beautiful and delicate. Okay, so give the wine a chew. Again, that lovely high refreshing acidity, delicious, very refreshing in a beautiful English wine week. After this a day, English wine week. We've got so many to try there. So we're in East Sussex. We're tasting Pinot Gris with Pinot Noir. So the Pinot Noir there will obviously give a little bit of colour to the wine. And what we really need to do is to showcase this wine even more and think about what food you might have with this wine. So we're dry, we're high acidity. This will work with acidic food. This will work with food where maybe we've got a fatty, creamy type taste to it. I can't work out where to begin. So what we're going to do, I think, is start with a little bit of cheese. And something to think about, and if you've got the WST card handy, something to think about is how we've got some lovely flavour intensity here. It's not too overpowering. It's a perfect glass of wine for just drinking. But, you know, maybe a cheese with a little bit of flavour there will work quite nicely. But also what we have here is a rosé wine. So even though it's colour, there's no tannin from the skins. We've just taken the colour from the skins. So we shouldn't be scared of this kind of umami type taste clashing, which happens for some people. For me, if I have an umami food with some red wines or some oaky white wines, I get this really kind of, for me, it tastes like a metal taste. Okay, so I think what I'm going to go for, I'm going to go with umami. And what I've got here are my not dried, sun blushed or something tomatoes here. So tomatoes are really high in umami, also really high in acid. So the acid should help to bring down the acid in wine if you want it to. It's up to you. But then the umami and the slight sweetness we get from this, from the sun dry, might bring out the acid again. Just give it a go. It's all about just trying. So, sweetness, umami, savoury taste. If you're not sure what I'm talking about with umami, think miso, think cooked mushrooms. Okay, try it with the wine. Oh, yes, works for me. Worked on its own, beautiful and refreshing. Actually, that's worked really beautifully because it brought out a little bit of a kind of red fruit, spicy type character as well. So that's our first little look at East Sussex. That's our Pinot Gris with a little bit of Pinot Noir. That is Rathfinney's Cradle Valley 2019 Rosé wine there. Hope you liked it. We'll come back to it because I want you to try it with some different foods. But now let's go again to the second wine. And the second wine was, as I said before, Danbury Madeleine Orangevine, family run estate. And we all tried this with the salt and lemon. What we have here is a wine that also worked beautifully with the asparagus. But what I'm going to do now, and I'm not sure what food you've got as I say, but I'm going to have something again which is quite a tricky one to match, like asparagus and sun-dried tomatoes. Just demonstrating how tricky to match foods work beautifully with English wine. So this is, again, English, so we're in Somerset now, some crab here. Let's see how crab and Madeline get on. Oh yes. So again, even though we've got that high acid, there's a slight creaminess to my crab. So the acid is working on that. And the flavour, what's beautiful about this, and to me the most important thing about food and wine pairing is a good intensity of flavour in the wine to match up with the intensity of the flavour in the crab, but neither are too strong. Yeah. So I'm going to go back and try my crab with my rosé, because what we've got here are two dry, high acid, refreshing wines, beautiful on their own, but also just demonstrating all the different foods you can have them with, and it's your choice. Okay, again, nice, bringing out that appley character, really is. You know, at the end of the day, if you like the wine on its own, great, but if it can go with different foods, we don't just sit there with one food, even better. So our first wine here is proving to work with our sun-blushed tomatoes, it's working with our crab there. Oh, I'm going to step it up and I'm going to make this tell us or show us what it can do with my mushroom pate. So it's not all about cheese, you know. So mushroom pate, again, really umami, really savoury, but we've got some saltiness in here. And salt also loves wine. Oh, amazing. You can taste the mushroom pate, you can taste the wine. Delicious. Hope you're enjoying this. Oh, I certainly am. So, East Sussex, Rathfinney Cradle Valley Rosé, £18. Owned by a lovely couple. They're a great team down there. They're really are producing a fabulous estate down there in Sussex. Encouraging local people to work with them. You can, you know, fancy a bit of work and you live down that way, or you just fancy living somewhere else in the UK. Knock on Rathfinney's door. They are doing a lot of planting and increasing their vineyards by a lot, and that's what they're producing here. So, rosé from Rathfinney, Madeleine Orangevine, white grape variety from Hampshire, from Danbury. So now we're moving over to Dorset. Okay, so in Dorset we have the fabulous Furley estate. This again is a couple, so this is Ian and Rebecca at Furley estate, and what we have here is the Bacchus. So the Bacchus grape variety is a grape you may have heard of if you explore English wines or you've been to English wineries. All of these places you can visit have started their tours again, and most of them, including Furley, are running their tours to about October. You just need to go onto their websites and have a look, and you'll get some amazing tours. So Bacchus grape variety. Grab your glass, your third one. Bacchus grape variety. It's very aromatic. Many years ago, when I used to live and work in London, we did some work with a wine bar that had, in Putney, that had the enigmatic, and they used to let the customers try a little taste of Bacchus when they ordered Sauvignon Blanc, because it's got that same kind of real floral elderflower, delicious lemon, apple, pear aromas. So we're getting more intense with the aromas here. Give it a little taste. A little bit more body, as in mouthfeel, okay, but still very light and very refreshing. Loads and loads of lemons and apples. Delicious, delicious. Right. So, Foley Estate, Ian and Rebecca, what would you recommend this with? Everything. Right. What we're going to do again is we're going to go back, I think, because of this real lovely, floral, fresh characteristic, I think I'm going to go back to my asparagus. So I'm going to have a bit more asparagus with this, and I'm going to have I'm going crazy here, I'm going to have asparagus and my tomato. So umami. Umami, acids, sweetness. Can it stand up to it with the asparagus taste? Even that's a good combination. I suppose it's not unusual. So, to Bridport, anybody Bridport way in Dorset? Foley Estate of 5 miles from the beautiful Jurassic Coast. Oh, yes, that works. And what we've got here, showing here as well, is a teeny bit more residual sugar in this wine. Still dry. But actually what that's really doing is really helping to work with the sweetness in the tomatoes, because if you get high sweetness in food, which we haven't got here, a little bit of sweetness, it kind of likes to work with sweetness sometimes. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try something that I always struggle. I really struggle with, I don't know if you can see this here, let's spin it around a little bit. I struggle with soft rind cheese. So I've got some very runny, whoops, very runny Somerset. Whoa, she needs a biscuit for that. Somerset Brie. Oh, look at that, it's amazing. Okay, and what's happening here, apart from me throwing it everywhere, is we've got the skin. So what I'm going to do is try this with the skin as well, because for me, I get this really, I don't need the biscuit, this really metallic taste if I have wine. But this has got loads of fruit, a lovely acid that will cut through the fattiness, but also a hint of little bit more residual sugar. I think with the rind will work really nicely. Hope you're doing this along with me. Pretty good cheese. Make good cheese in England. So what's happened there? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So the high acid in the wine is cutting through the cheese. You got some creaminess in the cheese, and that's really bringing out the flavours in the wines there. The wine there. Ian, bravo. That's absolutely beautiful. And the really lovely thing with Ian and Rebecca's estate is it's actually planted on an old dairy farm that Rebecca grew up on as a child. So she went all the way back again and is creating in a relatively short period of time fantastic wine here. This is $14.95. Absolutely great value. I'm also going to try it with something a little bit more smoky. So what I've got here is our 2 Applewood, English Applewood cheeses. And this one I'm going to try first. Actually, is my vegan Applewood cheese. So let's try that. So a bit of smokiness there. Really smoky. Let's see how those fruit flavours and the acid get on with this cheese. Again, it works. If I had time, I'd be trying it with everything. Well, I will later. Right, I'm going to Cornwall. I've got some Cornish Yogurt. I wonder what cheeses you brought. So the Cornish Yogurt compared to the vegan Applewood, more creamy. Not as creamy as the Somerset Brie, but it's certainly going to benefit. Think about how your mouth, if you've got a creamy cheese, is coated with that creaminess. Taste the wine and notice how that acid, that beautiful acid just cleanses your mouth and you're ready for the next sip. But the really, really lovely fresh apple lemon characteristics there, matching beautifully with both of the vegan Applewood, with everything so far. So what have we got next? So we were in Dorset here, as I say, not too far from Dorchester, about 15 miles from Dorchester. Beautiful, beautiful part of the world. All our vineyards are beautiful parts of the world. And that's Furley Estate. Okay, so that's their Bacchus Dry. Okay, and you're getting a bargain there at $14.95. Okay, so now we are heading over to Simpson's Estate Wines. So we're in the North Downs in Kent now. So this wine here is Simpson's Gravel Castle Chardonnay. Okay, so they have other Chardonnay wines. So this is 2020, and this is from 2 of their vineyards. So it's called Gravel Castle, but it actually comes from a bit from the Roman Road vineyard and a bit from the Railway Hill. Roman Road, very appropriate there. It's said that the Romans brought grapes to England, and guess what they travelled on? A Roman road in 1843. So here we go. We're back in that area. We're growing Chardonnay grapes amongst other things, and we're going to try this wine. They've got a winery as well. And what we're finding with these wines, they have their own vineyards, estate grown grapes. They're using only their own grapes, have their own wineries. So they're making the wine. So from start to finish, all the way through, they know every little aspect of what's happening with these wines, and that's just evident in what we're tasting to me. Am I gushing too much? They're so beautiful, these wines. Okay, so Simpsons actually have an estate down in the Languedoc in the south of France and make some rosé wines, but they have got these vineyards here. So winery in more recent years. Let's have a little taste of Simpson's Gravel Castle 2020. Very young and fresh. So back on the white wine. Give it a swirl and a sniff. And with Chardonnay, it's not such an aromatic grape like a Bacchus. But what you've got there, as I said before, is like really lovely stone fruit, softer fruit there. Give it a little taste. So this wine is unoaked, but what you've got there is some lovely, what we call texture. How do we explain texture? So even though this wine hasn't been in oak, what they've done is they allowed the wine, or part of the wine, to go through something called malolactic conversion. So many of you will know this. If you don't know what this is, basically you have malic acid in wine, and we have a lot of malic acid in our grapes in the UK and England. And so what we can do is encourage this bacteria, lactic acid bacteria, to convert that malic acid into lactic acid. And so taste this again, and you might find you get this little creamy note to the wine, even on the nose there. But also what they did is they left it sur lie. What's sur lie, Erica? Well, those of you know already all this, but for those of you who don't, we leave it on a little bit of the dead yeast, which are called lees. And the reason they're doing this is to keep the wine nice and fresh. They do that until the spring. But also it helps to give the wine a little bit more texture, a little bit more body there. Okay, so as you chew it round, notice it's got a little bit more mouthfeel, a bit more weight, a bit more viscosity. It's so nice. Delicious. Hand harvested, gently pressed, cold settled, partial malolactic, sully to the spring. Oh, the flavours really, really linger. The grapes, the clones for the Chardonnay are Burgundy clones. Wine geeks out there, 96 and 548. But that is lovely. So we've got a bit more weight here, but we've still got that lovely high acid. But they've softened that out a bit with the mellow conversion there. I'm thinking for this that we need to try something that's going to enhance all that creaminess there as well. So something salty, but something quite creamy. So I'm going to go back to my Applewood. No, I'm not. I'm going to go to my Cornish Yogurt again, because that was fairly creamy, and try my Cornish Yogurt with my Simpsons. Okay. Again, think about how the acid cleanses your palate. Yeah, so it's really lemony, but also get some of that riper fruit. You might stone fruit, melony type characteristics, a bit softer. So people like softer style wines might prefer this. I want you to compare this. I want you to go back now to the previous one, to your Bacchus, which is a different grape, more aromatic, more floral, but still got that kind of fresh apple lemon. Oh, it's amazing. So what we're doing here is, or the producers are doing, it's demonstrating what these grapes are capable of in this climate, and demonstrating how skillful our producers are in this UK, in England. But I think that Chardonnay as well might like a little bit of my cheddar, because even though I said it's less aromatic, and I said you need to match flavour intensity, well, not need to, you could if you don't want to overpower one or t'other. My mature cheddar, English cheddar, Cornwall, organic, a bit more flavour than my Yog. Let's see if Mr. Chardonnay can stand up. Simpson's Gravel Castle 2020 can stand up to mature cheddar. What do you think? Bring out the creaminess, brings out that lemon. Okay, let's stick with our mature cheddar. You're keeping up. What's she talking about? Right, try your mature cheddar again and go back to the Bacchus. It's just a different experience. But that cheddar with that Bacchus, you get the fresh floral character and then the cheesy character as well. Right, I think we need to do the whole hog. So the whole cheese, so to speak. So go back to your mature cheddar, if you have. And then we're going back in Hampshire with our Madeleine Orangevine. What happens there? Real floral character comes out in that one this time. Still cuts through, beautiful. Right, we're heading back to East Sussex. Pinot Gris, Pinot Noir Rosé. Lovely, delicious, delicious, delicious. Apples, red apples. It's fun. It's just good fun. Think of it as fun. Right, so where are we? We're back with our Chardonnay. We've decided that mature cheddar is absolutely brilliant with all these, but you know, I've talked about lees and malolactic conversion here with our Chardonnay, so I think we should test this one out a bit and see if it can handle something a bit more umami, because we've gone with the cheese so far. So I'm going to test this little one out on my crab. This could be wrong, and actually there's no right, there's no wrong. You're probably sitting there going, what is she doing? It's horrible. Need to have my crab with my Bacchus. Need to have my crab with my Madeleine Orangevine. Okay. Right, so what this has done, where we've softened the acidity in the Chardonnay with the malolactic conversion, for me, and everybody's different, it's brought acidity out more, which is lovely. It's great because it's actually, you know, this fresh, delicate crab with a really refreshing wine. So, you know, it doesn't really matter as long as you enjoy it. Let's go back to asparagus, being very, very, making the most of our English asparagus at the moment. I'm not going to put the lemon with this. I'm just going to have asparagus. Oh, that really brings out the taste of asparagus. So if you like asparagus, great. That makes the asparagus flavours so defined, so intense. Oh, that's amazing. Gosh. Okay. So, what haven't we tried? Spice. Don't do it yet. Let's do some of the Camembert with the rind with the Chardonnay. Why? Because remember I said to some people the rind can be a big clash. So sorry. I always do that. Made me cry. Yes. It's making me cry because it's so beautiful. Okay. Chardonnay, Camembert. Maybe cry. It all works. English wine works with food. So, red wine. Bit trickier to grow black grapes in cool climate, but Pinot Noir thrives in a cooler climate. So, we're now in Devon. We're in a place called Sharpham. Number 5. Have a little taste. So, a light, delicate, refreshing red. Red fruits, wild strawberries, cherries, bit of spice there. So we're in South Devon, on the banks of the River Dart. If you know where that is, we're not far from Totnes. And Sharpham have actually been going since 1981. So a long time in the relatively short period of time that English wines have just become, in my opinion, massive, huge, great. So they planted their first vineyard in 1981, second one in 2008. First one on a Sharpham estate, second one on Sandridge Barton estate, on a 1,000-year-old farm land. They've got 500 acres. It's not just vineyards. They make amazing cheese. They have woodlands. They have their own winery, and so they make not just great wine, they also make great cheeses as well. So if you can check it out. So Pinot Noir, great variety. Obviously a red wine. Pinot Noir, classic, red fruit characters. What have we done with this one here? We've planted it on some south-facing slopes, actually all south-facing slopes, all flinty, chalky, stony soils, so we can enhance that warmth. But what we did, we fermented this after soaking the grapes, crushing and soaking them for 7 days or thereabouts. We fermented it in 6th use French and left it in the French oak for 8 months. We had some whole bunches in there, and for those of you who studied, you would be telling me, oh yeah, whole bunches, a bit of a floral lift there, gives them real freshness. And then 7 days post maceration to get a bit more colour. So for Pinot Noir, compared to some Pinot Noir, we've got a good amount of colour there. Partial malolactic again. What does that mean? You know what that means. And then 6 months in 2nd use French oak. So you've got that spice. Give it a try. Bit of spice, a little bit of texture from the oak there, a little bit smoky, definitely some lovely strawberries, cherries, raspberries, very typical, tastes like Pinot Noir. Gorgeous wine, really gorgeous wine. So this is Sharpham, we're in Devon, near Totnes, on the river, banks of the River Dart. Pinot Noir, 100%. So much flavour there. I'm talking because I'm thinking about how long these flavours are lasting. So, red wine with fish, I'm going for it. So, red wine with my crab. I can do it because we can do it. We can do what we like, can't we? What I'm going to do though is add a little bit of acidity. So squirt a bit of my lemon juice onto my crab. Right, cheers, Pinot Noir from Devon. What do you think? I hope you think, like I do, that it works. There's no clash. It's actually beautiful, delicate crab, delicate Pinot Noir there. A little bit of texture from the oak. So sharpened Pinot Noir, English quality wine. Haven't got time to tell you about the PDO, the protection laws there. We'll have to do more of this. Another thing, should it work with strong cheese? Let's try it with our vegan Applewood. It's a really, really smoky cheese. That works. Because you've got that little oak spice with the Pinot Noir and you've got the smokiness with the cheese. High acid again, English, cuts through the fattiness. So that was my vegan Applewood, and we'll try it with my cow's milk Applewood. More creamy, much creamier. Quite sticky cheese, these smoked Applewood cheeses, aren't they? Acid cuts through. Salt in the cheese brings out the fruit. Absolutely delicious. Mushrooms. Quite often people talk about mushrooms and things like that with Pinot Noir. So if my mushroom pate works with my Pinot Noir. Works as well. See? English wine. Works with everything. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the wines. Information on your tasting sheet of where you can get the wines. I think they're absolutely delicious wines. Really, really good value. The Pinot Noir is £19. That's just such good value. The Chardonnay we're looking at £17 there, and I gave you the prices for the other wines there. All absolute bargains. Thank you, Hampshire. Thank you, Dorset. Thank you, Kent. Thank you, East Sussex. Thank you, Devon. Thank you, amazing producers of the food as well. I hope you learned something, because that's our mission at Enjoy Discovering Wine. If you want to learn more, have a look on our website. We've got a fun quiz in there, the wine challenge. See how much you know and see how much you can get right and which level of knowledge you're at maybe. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website again, enjoydiscoveringwine.com, and have a look through. But also Helen and I love to chat. So if you just want to call, just click that button, call with Erica, and Helen and I will chat to you to explain what the course is about. We ran them in Winchester. We've been running them online hugely successfully, sending out these samples since the pandemic. So we sent our first ones out in March last year, so March 2020. So we're quite experienced at this now. So we are going back into Winchester, but we're also running them online because people are loving kicking off their shoes, putting their track pants back on and doing some learning and tasting with us. So check out our courses, enjoydiscoveringwine.com. Thank you very, very much to the producers for making amazing wine. It's been a pleasure to share those with you, and hopefully we'll do some more. But happy English Wine Week 2021.